I'm Mark Goldbridge, and this is your latest Manchester United news, and it's the first day of training for Ruben Amorim. It's time to go to work, and it's time to go for some players. Fabrizio Romano giving another hint on a player that will not be part of Amorim's future. We'll talk about that. He's also spoken about the two players that will be key to Amorim's reign at Manchester United, and it's not two players you would think. So get in the comments with if you had to pick two players that you think are going to be perfect for Amorim's era, then let us know, because I don't think you'll pick these two. Also, Rasmus under fire, not playing well for Denmark, not getting any service, not scoring any goals. We'll talk about that as well. Alvaro Fernandez has spoken about his return to Manchester United too. There's loads of other bits to get involved with as well on our Monday morning show. And can I just give a big shout out, everybody? The video went out at 7 a.m. this morning, basically entitled why Erik ten Hag failed at Man United. Brilliant feedback on that. It's only a 10-minute video. Been meaning to do it for a couple of days. It went out this morning. Check it out. And the comments have been brilliant on that. It's well worth a watch, because basically I know Ten Hag's gone. I know it's the Amorim era, but from what mistakes Ten Hag made, you would hope that Amorim has noted them down, because some of them are really avoidable mistakes that Ten Hag walks straight into the problems with. Fantastic. So let's get into the show. First day of training for Amorim today. I guarantee, not saying there's anything wrong with it, I guarantee there is a picture by 3 o'clock today, going massive, of Amorim hugging Rashford and them both smiling. That's PR. That's coming out. I'm telling you, 100%. There'll be others as well, but that I even envisaged it this morning. I can picture it in my head. It's definitely coming. So it's the first day of Amorim's training today. What can we expect? Well, not everybody's there. So what we can expect is just a steady week of, every club has this problem, whether it's Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United. You're training sporadically, a lot of younger players, some senior players. It will just be, you know, little bit. It's a bit like pre-season. It's just as people come back, the real training won't really start anyway for a long time, because the games are going to come quick and fast. But you probably won't have everybody training till Friday. So it's just about feeling your way in. And in a way, it's a real positive, actually. I don't think anybody will say this, so I will say it. I actually think it works really well, because if he comes in today and everybody's back, it's quite overwhelming for everybody, isn't it? You've got a whole squad. You've got De Ligt, you've got Xerxes, you've got Rasmus, you've got Eriksen, you've got Garnacho, you've got Agate, you've got Bruno Delo, you've got Rashford, Casemiro, and everyone who didn't go. Everybody's there, and it's quite, you know, overwhelming for everybody. Whereas today and tomorrow, he can talk to Mount and Rashford and Casemiro and Mainu, etc. And then on Wednesday, when Bruno's back, and Delo, and then Garnacho, and then Agate, I think it actually works quite well. So that's how I see the week working. But let's hit the news. That's what we're here to talk about. So Fabrizio Romano has dropped a couple of bits this morning. I've told you, he's definitely got an in at Amorim. I've said this before, Amorim. He's definitely got one. But he's talking about Christian Eriksen first of all. And Manchester United are expected. This is a quote from Fabrizio Romano. Manchester United and Christian Eriksen are still expected to part ways at the end of the season. There are no negotiations taking place over a new deal. And while Amorim's opinion will also be considered, Eriksen is expected to leave. I think that couple of sentences actually is really interesting. And I would say, let's not just use the name Christian Eriksen. There are no negotiations with Victor Lindelof. He is out of contract in the summer. There are no negotiations with Harry Maguire. His contract is up in the summer. So while we can exclusively look at Eriksen, Lindelof and Maguire are in the same position as well. But I think what Fabrizio's saying there is quite interesting. Whilst Amorim's position will be considered, I also think that obviously Ineos have this structure now of Barada, Ashworth, Wilcox and everybody else. They will make a decision. And unless Amorim can make a compelling case, Johnny Evans as well, says Danny, unless Amorim can make a compelling case to keep Eriksen, I think the board will be saying, look, he's 32, is he? Let me know in the chat. He's 32. He's on 150k a week. We could only keep him on a rolling year deal on about 70k. He ain't going to take that deal, Ruben. He's going to probably want a 2-year deal for about 100k, which we're not going to do. So financially, we don't want to commit to that. So unless you're going to pick him every week and tell us he's going to get us top 4, which he won't. That's why it'll happen. Eriksen is class. I agree. I agree with Mick Moore. I think Eriksen has a touch of class. He has an aura of class. I think we've misused him. I definitely think we've misused him. I do not think he was a number 8, but I don't see Amorim using this player as much as you would need to require a new contract. So I think it's logical. I think it's ruthless. Ruthless aggression is what we're looking for. And to be honest, I'm quite comfortable with that. So look, we know that we need to move players on. Some people regret letting Wan-Bissaka go, Sancho go, McTominay go. I don't regret any of those. Wan-Bissaka led to Mazraoui, McTominay led to Ugarte, and Sancho led to Ahmad getting game time. So I'm completely behind Ineos and all of those deals. Not every player you move on do you go, they're absolutely rubbish, get them out of my club, they stink. Some players allow you to go, hope you do really well, thank you for your time, see you later, now let's get something that suits us better. And in relation to Eriksen, you'd be replacing him with somebody that can give you 6 or 7 years instead of 6 or 7 months. So that's why I would do that deal. So look, that's the starting point. The second thing that Fabrizio has said, and I want to get your comments on this. So the second thing that he has said is that Ruben Amorim will prioritise 2 players. And basically those 2 players that he loves, I'll read you the quotes. Kobbie Mainoo is a crucial player for Manchester United, and Ruben Amorim loves these kind of players. Kobbie Mainoo, Lenny Yoro, these are the players and the direction exactly that he wants to take Manchester United's future into. So Fabrizio has mentioned Yoro before. This is not the first time he's mentioned him. And now is mentioning Kobbie Mainoo. So Kobbie Mainoo and Lenny Yoro are exactly the crucial type of players that Amorim will want to build his team around. Look, if I had to pick 2 players, I'll do it in a minute. I don't think Amorim has told Fabrizio or anybody that these are the 2 players that I'm going to build my team around. I don't think it's that. I just think they are 2 players that are teenagers. I think they're the only teenagers actually that are, because Rasmus isn't, Garnacho isn't, Ahmad isn't. They're all in their early 20s now. So they're both teenagers. So maybe that's what it's all about. Future. You look at Quenda, etc. If I was picking 2 players, or you were picking 2 players, get in the comments and let me know which 2 players you think are most important for United over the next couple of years. I think it's a great question. Which 2 players are the 2 most important players for Man United over the next 2 years? So if it's Yoro and Mainoo, that's absolutely fine. But I would say, hold on a minute, you've got Garnacho, you've got Ahmad, you've got Rasmus, you've got Bruno, you've got Mazraoui, you've got De Ligt, you've got Martinez. You know, the list goes on and on the 2 players that could be really important for us. And I think that's the positive. I was talking about this on the Ten Hag video this morning. There's lots of reasons why he's lost his job, but I do believe that he has left a structure better than any manager that's ever left a structure. I mean, we did win the FA Cup in May. I know Van Gaal won the FA Cup when Jose took over, but I don't think the team that Van Gaal left was respected by Mourinho. In fact, Mourinho was like, I don't want anything to do with it. I think that Amorim will pick up a lot of the pieces that Ten Hag left and use. So the 2 players that I would say are the most important for us over the next 2 years, I think you could go a little bit sort of out of the box and say, well, obviously the striker. So you could say Rasmus, who we're going to talk about next. Getting something out of him is absolutely essential, and that could be really important if he starts scoring goals. But I would say, I actually would still say Bruno. I would say Bruno is absolutely essential. It's just so important that we get something out of him, having given him that contract, him being the captain, the Portuguese connection. We've got to get the best out of Bruno in the next 2 years. So I would say he is massively important. And then it's a toss-up between a name I didn't just mention, Ugarte, and Garnacho. I think Ugarte hasn't proven himself yet, but looks like he could do. And I think Garnacho has the highest ceiling in the squad. So I'd be an idiot if I didn't acknowledge that. So my 2 would be Bruno and probably Garnacho, but I think Ugarte is going to be really important as well. But then again, you know, Ahmad, Martinez, Rasmus, as I said, there are so many players that could be massively important for us, notwithstanding Mainoo and Yoro. And this is the exciting thing for me. You go through that list again of players that could be 2 of the most important players over the next 2 years. And from back to front, you go, And I will discount the goalkeeper because the goalkeeper's the goalkeeper. But, you know, you've got Yoro, you've got De Ligt, you've got Martinez, you've got Mazraoui, you've got Dalot. You then go into the midfield, you've got Mainu, you've got Ugarte, you've got Bruno, maybe Mason Mount, you've got Garnacho, you've got Ahmad, you've got Rasmus. I mean, Rashford, I know people will laugh, but you have. So we have got a lot of players that could really become very important to us. I think we're on the verge of something on the core of players if we add to it, promote, and get rid of the deadwood. I think the deadwood drags down a lot of our players. That's my opinion on it anyway. Just read some of your comments on here because a lot of people are putting it out here. Kone Anobi Martin says Kookie. He's going very, very out of the box there. Look, future planning. Quinton says Bruno's old. Mate, he's 30 years of age. He's never been about pace, and we've just given him a 300k a week contract. If you're right about that, then Ineos have messed up. Come on. Rasmus under Amorim sounds like a recipe for a striker masterclass, says Michael Doherty. Mainu has a higher ceiling, in my opinion, than Garnacho. I hope you're right. I don't care. And Daily Short says that as well. I hope you're right. I mean, we're not here to agree or disagree. I've always said Garnacho's got the highest ceiling in that squad. If you think it's Mainu, fine. I mean, I don't do Player FC, so let's not have an argument about it. I know some of you want to, and I know the rest of the world want Player FC. We saw that yesterday with Pogba, who, by the way, Fabrizio Romano has said is not happening. So despite what we were talking about yesterday, it seemed preposterous. It is not happening. So anybody who wanted that to happen, it's not going to happen, thank God. But look, I don't really care if Mainu hits the ceiling, then you know, absolutely brilliant. I'm not bothered. I don't care if Ahmad does. It's just my personal opinion. Rashford will be a big job for Amorim, says Savage. Ahmad, Yoro and Mainu, says D Freezy. Sonny and Cher, I think they were singers. I think one of them's dead. And is this the best group of young talent we've had since a decade, says It's Debo. It's probably the best set of young talent we've had since the class of 92. Honestly, like having lived, you know, and remembered every Premier League year, because I was like probably 10 when the Premier League started. Actually, a little bit older than that. I was about 20. No, I wasn't. I think it was 11 actually. I remember every single Premier League year, and this is the best collection of young players we've had since the class of 92. There's an abundance in the youth setup that haven't hit the first team yet. And on top of that, you've got Ahmad, you've got Garnacho, you've got Mainu, you've now got Yoro coming through as well. Rasmus is a young striker. I know we've bought some of these players, but I can't think of a period of time where we had such a sprinkling of talent coming through. So it is very exciting. Harvey says the highest ceiling in the squad is Yoro. Ask Madrid. Well, I can't speak. I can't speak, Harvey. Let him speak, Simon. I can't talk about Yoro. I hope you're right. Again, I don't care. But what are you basing it on? He's never kicked a ball for Man United yet. So we need to see what Yoro's all about. And I hope you're right. But until I see him in a Man United shirt, I can't comment on that. You know, it's like commenting on Mason Mount's potential. I can't comment on it because all I see is a Chelsea shirt. So there we go. Talking about potential, we've got quite a lot to get through this morning. By all means, let's move back and forward. But Alvaro Fernandez has been speaking to, I don't know who he's speaking to, but we've got some direct quotes. No, he's spoken to Marca. He's spoken about the potential to move back to Manchester United. And these are Alvaro Fernandez's words. Remember, 21-year-old, we let him go to Benfica in the summer. He was on loan last season. I actually said, not this summer, the summer before, I was asked for a young player that I thought would break through. And I said, well, I know Mainu's going to break through. It's very obvious. But I actually said Alvaro Fernandez is a bit of an out-of-the-box one. And then he went on bloody loan. But I definitely saw the potential there, like many people did. Could he be coming back? Well, this is what he had to say. I'm focused on what I have to do because I have a game every 3 days. It's always nice to have teams call you and everyone wants to grow, but I'm doing very well here. United have signed a purchase option, but I'm very happy here. I've got a 5-year contract with Benfica. I want to win titles and continue to grow personally as I'm only 21. I want to win, whether it's with Spain or with Benfica, and continue to grow. Obviously, he came to United as a 16-year-old from Real Madrid, and obviously that's what we've done in letting him go. So look, there's not a hell of a lot in there in essence with regards to a hint about him leaving. and coming back from Benfica. But he does seem very settled there. And Steve said he doesn't want to come back. And Clash says it almost sounds like he doesn't want to return. You know what? Honestly, I think it's really easy to read. He doesn't want to come back because he's playing regularly for Benfica, and there are a lot of people looking at him at the moment, and you know, maybe he'll get a Spain call-up or something like that. I don't know. Has he had a Spain call-up? I don't know. So I think that he probably looks at Man United's interest and goes, well, if I go back, will I actually play? Whereas at Benfica, I'm playing in the Champions League. I'm playing every week. You know, I could be winning things here. So, excuse me. Excuse me. So I think that that's absolutely normal. I mean, we heard it from Gyökeres, didn't we, over the weekend, about the potential to move. And he said, well, Man United have got strikers, so they might not want me. And if I do move in the summer, I want to play. So I think that's really important. And I think what all Alvaro Fernandez is saying is, I'm very happy at Benfica, and it's always great to be linked to other clubs because it means you're doing well, but I'm happy here. And effectively, the way I read it is, I'm not going back to Man United to sit on the bench and not get played when I'm playing in the Champions League with Benfica. And I think that's absolutely the right way to be. And I think everybody would agree with that. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with it. But I think if Man United were going to try and bring him back, then we would have to be offering him a pathway to the first team. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, he shouldn't be there going, I just want to go back to Manchester and sit on a bench. You know, he wants to play, and he's playing. And there's more than Man United looking at him at the moment. So I don't really see a massive problem with that. Any player who picks Benfica over United has no ambitions, says Orcas. Yeah, but I don't think you've just listened to what I've said. I'm saying I would choose Benfica. I would choose to stay at Benfica if I'm playing every week than going back to Man United and sitting on the bench. There has to be some guarantees. Now, no player should be getting first team football guaranteed, but what I would be saying, if Amorim wanted to bring me back, I'd be saying, what's my role? And if he says, well, I just want you to be part of the squad, I'd say, well, part of the squad, I'm playing regularly for Benfica, so you know, I want guaranteed minutes. If I'm playing well, I want to know that if I play well, I'm in your team. I'm not saying I want guaranteed to be in the team, but I don't want to be a squad player, etc. Who starts, Mazraoui or Dalot, says Harvey. Thanks for your super chats that are coming in. I think at this time Mazraoui would start over Dalot. I think everybody would agree with that. We did a poll on this the other day, but it also depends on how he's going to structure that back five. I think both Mazraoui and Dalot will be back midweek. So they'll both be vying for a start against Ipswich, and to be honest, they both might start. If we've got centre-back issues, I wouldn't be surprised if Mazraoui plays in the 3 and Dalot could play as the right wing-back, so we'll have to wait and see. Patrick Lynch has given us a super chat. Good morning, Patrick. I hope you're doing very well. He says, getting players that want to and are desperate to play are the players with the right mentality for me. We've bought players before, happy to sit on the bench and collect a huge wage. I completely agree. You want players that are hungry and want to go into the team. Hi, Mark. Just want to say thank you for keeping us so engaged daily, especially during crappy international breaks. Love from Durban, South Africa, says Yashpal. Well, I'm going to talk about Rasmus next. I want to talk about that, and I've got a couple of other things to talk about as well. But thank you very much for that, Yashpal. I always say the international break, and I know we haven't got another one until March now, and the March international break is always brilliant because it's always the start of really where all the stories come from for the transfer window, because you get players on international duty who speak a little bit looser than they would when they're at their club. So I'm glad that the international break is basically over, but I do enjoy the international break because from a community sense, we get to have deeper conversations, which is why it was so good to get that Ten Hag video up this morning finally. But we've had some really good conversations, like last night, keep or sell. It was very interactive. I enjoyed it. And oh, that just reminds me, actually, I just want to shout you out. Like, we've been doing this for 10 years, and I hear the word community. I did a LinkedIn post this morning about community. I think people steal community. Community was never a thing when it came to football. The United Stand created community because we were the first channel that really was doing live content, not watch-alongs, Saturday night, 8 o'clock, interactive with an audience. So when people want to start about community, the United Stand started community. And when people want to say that the modern football outlets aren't about community. They're about dividing for their own pockets. Swivel on that and swivel on that. On Saturday, for the 5th year in a row, we were live for 12 hours and raised £40,000 for people with terminal illness. So if that's not community and you've got better communities, then I'd like to see you this Saturday doing your 12-hour streams, raising money for charities that need it. Swivel on it and swivel on it hard. There ain't no better community in football than the community I'm sat talking to at the moment or on That's Football. I'm massively proud of it. I will defend it against anybody, and it matters all around the world. So stop taking the piss thinking you've got communities better than this, because you don't. Because you don't. You're just saying it because you want subscribers and you want views. Do something with your community. Go and do it every fucking year. Go and create money for charities and do something positive with it instead of chanting about community and doing the right thing and doing the right content. Go fuck yourselves. Seriously. You're fakers. You haven't got a bloody community at all. You're just saying it so that, oh, can I get more status? Can I get more subscribers? Go and do something with your community year after year after year before you start slagging everybody else's off. Put that in your papers and write it. Swivel on it. I will defend this community because it's been going for a long time. And if you're new and you're welcome, great, keep spreading the word. But this community has been around for a long time. I will not have people saying it's divisive and it's done to divide and cause problems for the football club and everything like that. It's a proper community of people that support each other. Mental health, people who are dying, people who just want, to be part of something. Every fucking day. Every day for nearly 10 years. Swivel on it. Swivel on it. Yes, we disagree. Yes, we disagree. But that is the same as anybody disagrees down the pub. Anybody disagrees when their friends come round. That's football. That's how it works. And I'll defend this community against the twats out there who try and demean it and make out that they've got better communities or they're more, their shit don't smell. And if you want to chat about it, get in contact. I think we do business in January, says Harvey Specter. 100%. 100%. David's laughing about us inventing community. No, mate, I will defend this community. We started 10 years ago. Nobody was doing football live content. We were doing it on a Google Hangout. Nobody was doing it because it was shit. Google Hangout was rubbish. It was literally worse than a Poundland Zoom. It was me, Kev, and a couple of other people, and it was absolutely shit. It was really rubbish. Everyone was doing 10-minute or 10-minute well produced pre-recorded stuff. So I will argue that with anybody. And even if you don't agree with that, tell me a bigger footballing community than the United stand. We're the best, we're the biggest, and I'm defending you. And if you don't like it, off you go. Every day, every live show keeps me sane in work. I'm not shouting myself out. I'm shouting you out. Don't know what David's talking about. I couldn't give a shit. Call me a narcissist. Call me a knobhead. I don't care. It's water off a duck's back. But I'll defend this community from people who shout it down. I see it in news articles all the time. I see it online all the time. They can swivel on it. We raised £40,000 in 12 hours on Saturday for people that are dying. It means something. It matters. It's real. It's a proper community. And I will defend it because it's you people who make it, not me. Anyway, let's get back to the show. We're going to talk about Rasmus next. So Rasmus is under fire. He didn't play well for Denmark against Spain the other night. In fact, the manager said it's hard. I find it hard to rate him. I'll tell. That sounds quite bad. I find it hard to rate him, but I think realistically, this is. Well, I'll read you what the Danish press outlet BT said. It radiates from him how much he wants to succeed as a player, and that's why it hurts to see how rarely Højlund succeeds in the national team, where he hasn't scored in over a year. He wins his duels, but too often the next action or the pass is imprecise. We miss him becoming really dangerous. I think that's coming from a sympathetic place, to be honest with you. I didn't realise he hasn't scored in over a year for the Danish national team, and I do agree with it does radiate off Rasmus the efforts to succeed, but we've seen it ourselves recently where the pass is off or the first touch is off and he loses it. I think in recent weeks he has struggled. Whereas last season, I felt at times a lot of the issues. Look, the predominant issue is, and the Danish manager said this, was they were playing Spain and they lost 2-1. And he said it's really hard to rate him in a game where you're playing such a good team and effectively the striker's playing on scraps. That is absolutely an excuse at Manchester United. We know that the service into the striker is terrible, and hopefully Amorim is going to change this. But obviously, there is a lot of scrutiny, and I think that this is going to be one of Amorim's biggest jobs, really, is if we're going to play the 3-4-3 and we're going to have a focal striker, if it's going to be Rasmus, then there needs to be a lot of work done around that and around him in relation to creating chances and how that's going to work, because it fundamentally is creating a topic matter that, look, you get the uneducated, you'll get the journalist or the, sometimes some, let's be fair, it could be someone in this community, could be someone on social media. You'll get the uneducated who go, he just doesn't score enough goals for me. You know, we need a striker that's going to score more goals, and he just doesn't score enough goals. I think Rasmus gets one every three and a half games. That's his record at Man United. And I think it was much the same at Atalanta. So you could say there's a consistency there, but he was a teenager at Atalanta. He was 20 when he came to United, and he's 21 now. So I don't think goals to game ratios massively tell the story. I also think there is a real misunderstanding in the basic analysis of some in relation to Rasmus around, oh, United just need Harry Kane. Where's the service coming from for Harry Kane? Oh, yeah, but good strikers create their own chances. Yeah, that's exactly why Erling Haaland continually gets shut down. Like, Erling Haaland can't create his own chances. Erling Haaland needs service, and he's the best striker in the world, I think. But how many games do we watch Haaland get shut down? Saw it against Inter the other week. Seen it against Arsenal in the past. Even Varane and Martinez have shut him down. You've got to create the chances. And the issue with Rasmus at the moment is not Rasmus. It's creativity around the player. I think, yes, he can play better. I think the hold-up play and the passing has fallen off in recent weeks. But what hasn't changed is he's not getting chances to score goals. That needs to change. Now, if there is going to be a striker change in the summer, if it is going to be Gyökeres, that still needs to change. What I'm saying is the graveyard shift at United was here years before Rasmus was, and we can't have it continuing years afterwards if he's going to be replaced. I think we've got 6-7 months for Amorim to work with a striker here, and if he starts getting chances and missing them, then you might look at maybe making a change. But as things are now, obviously things aren't going well at United and they're not going well at Denmark. But I do believe that this is going to be one of the areas where Amorim can make a real change very, very quickly. The sporting side and Gyökeres, that was a focal point of that team. That needs to change at Manchester United. And I think he will score goals because statistically, he's got one of the best goal conversion rates in the Premier League over the last 18 months. Unfortunately, he just doesn't get many chances, which is why he doesn't score many goals. So I think that needs to change. And I think it's a double-edged sword. I think there is an element of, you can't just say effort is enough. Weghorst used to run around a lot. Agallo used to run around a lot. You've got to have the ability. There are aspects of Rasmus's game that do need to improve, obviously. But the goal scoring is what we want to improve, and the chances haven't been there. So I want to see chances created for our striker, and I think he'll be absolutely fine. And I think the Danish coach is right. It's hard to rate a player when they're not actually getting service, and that has to change. Keith Keeley has just gifted 5 memberships. What a lovely community thing to do, Keith. Thank you very much for that. If you've got your badge in, absolutely great. Remember, as I said last night, for members, there is some really exciting stuff coming up just before Christmas, so get ready for that. G-Man says, I like Rasmus, but I feel that Mark is giving him too many excuses. That's fine. I mean, as I say, it's like you can have your own opinion, but my opinion is based on fact that it goes beyond Rasmus, G-Man. This was happening for Ronaldo, it was happening for Martial, it was happening for Cavani. And if Rasmus goes, I don't want it to happen for Gyökeres. We have to create more chances for our striker. We are a really weird team. Even Havertz at Arsenal gets lots of chances. Nicholas Jackson at Chelsea gets lots of chances. Danny Welbeck at Brighton gets lots of chances. Watkins and Duran obviously do at Aston Villa. Every other team in the Premier League seems to be able to create chances for their striker. And look, Giovanni says his positioning is poor, but mate, that falls away straight away. Even if you are half right, we are not putting crosses or balls into the box that Erling Haaland gets onto because his positioning is better. We ain't that team. We haven't been that team for, I don't even remember when. We are a team that doesn't have many touches in the box. Like, we're not that team. You know it. If you watch United like we do on the watch-alongs for years, we're not a team that creates chances in and around the box. The chances we create are very individualistic. That needs to change. And I guarantee you, if Rasmus stays fit between now and the end of the season, let's come back in May and see who's right. I reckon in May, people will have changed their opinion because I think Amorim's going to change the way we're going to play, and I think he will do well. James Cave says, morning, Mark. Amazing work on Saturday. With training starting, have you got any ideas about players Amorim might be able to adapt to new positions? Well, thank you very much for your super chat, James. Thank you. Tracy Taylor says, proud to be part of the United stand. Great work, all. Anthony says, well done on another great job on Saturday. We should all be proud of what we do. Thank you very much. And Andreas says, you should say, my dad speaks so loud that I cannot hear what you say. Every day, thank you very much. So yeah, going back to players that might play out of position, might be adapted into other positions. Sorry, I missed the name of somebody, but they said loved the 7 a.m. show this morning. Do check that out. You can go and check it out after this if you want. Just very interesting, and the comments are really good about why Ten Hag failed and what Amorim can do to learn from it. Adalume says, Ruben Amorim's pattern of play will make Man United strikers score more goals. I completely agree with that as well. And David says, whenever we sign a player who is little known but everyone claims they watch them all the time, they always turn out to be average, but nobody takes accountability for wanting them. I'm going to come back to that other one. I mean, David, last time I checked, you, I, and everybody else watching this show wasn't the scout for Manchester United. And we don't have access to all of the information. I mean, look, there'll be a TikTok hipster telling you to go and buy Stuttgart's number 10 or their holding midfielder. I can go and have a look at him in a couple of games and go, I quite like the look of him. But look, honestly, I don't think we've ever bought a player from Europe that I've watched more than 30 games for. And most of them, not even that. You can look at a player and go, I really like that. I mean, look, here's an example for you. I've seen Belieber play for Brighton less than 10 times. I liked the look of him last season when he first came in. And this season, I've probably seen him twice. And before, in their last game where they beat Man City, he was on the bench. And I was doing a watch-along. And I said, why is that Belieber not playing? Because I'm not a Brighton fan. I said, why is Belieber not playing? I was really impressed with him last year. I think he's quite an exciting player. He's been injured, Mark. He's on the bench. Comes on at half-time. Looks really good again. We'd all buy him now, David. We'd all buy him now. You'd probably buy him now. A year's time, he's no better than Fred. And you're in the chat going, well, everybody needs to be held accountable because they said we should buy Belieber. How can we be held accountable as fans? None of our opinions are set in stone. None of us are always going to be right. We're going to miss the target. And also, we're more likely to miss the target because we're doing it without the information the CEO, the director of football and the scouts actually have. We don't know the personality of a Belieber or any other player for that fact. Look at Ugarte. Really good player at Sporting. Funnily enough, under Amorim, we wanted him. He went to PSG. It didn't work out at PSG. United get linked to him because Ineos really like him. I didn't watch him a lot at PSG last year, but I know what he's all about. I was really excited about that. Probably watched him play less than 10 games in his whole career before he came to Man United, but just seen and read and know about him like anybody else. How are we accountable for that? It's not my job to say, don't get Ugarte because I think he might be shit. I was like, oh, no, I've heard good things about him, seen them a little bit of him. Really good, tenacious midfielder, still only 23, was really good at Sporting, but went to PSG. Go and get the deal. I don't think I don't think we can be beating ourselves up when players don't work out. And Look, if you're referencing Rasmus, again, I think quite a raw talent that we brought in from Atalanta, an exciting talent, and I still think I think he'll score goals. I'm not worried until he's missing chances and we're not creating chances. Just going back to the comment about players that we think that Amorim will mould into new players. I think every winger is going to be moulded. I mean, Garnacho, Ahmad, Rashford, Anthony are not going to be playing the same way they've played for the last few years. We're not playing with wingers now. We're playing with wide midfielders, or you're going to play them behind the number 10. There are 4 positions for our old wingers to play. It's either wide in a system where you're going to have to run a lot, or it's in behind the striker. So they're going to get adapted. Bruno's going to get adapted because he's going to be playing either in the pivot or in a 2 behind the striker. The fullbacks are going to get adapted because we won't be playing fullbacks anymore. The centre-backs are going to get adapted because they're going to be playing in a 3 instead of a 2, which is very different. So I'd say 90% of our squad is going to get adapted. And even the ones that don't will have to play in a different way. Even an Arna is going to have to play in a different way. So the whole team is being adapted. It's just how much you're being adapted by. You might be a centre-back, but now you're playing in a back 3. You might be the striker, but now the team is set up completely different. And it's going to be very exciting. Andres says, sorry, I mean, our deeds speak so loud that we cannot hear what you say. Ruben can make us an idea, see us an idea. Rasmus will be the biggest change, says Andres. Thank you. Well, remember what Ruben Amorim said in his interview that we reacted to on Friday night. You will see an idea from the Ipswich game, which I think is going to be very exciting. What do you think about Harry Amas and Kone? Well, a bit like David said there, I'm not going to sit here and say that Amas and Kone are going to be the best thing ever, but we were speaking about Lasali, who's coming from Crystal Palace. We've spoken about Obi Martin. We've spoken about Shea Lacey. We've spoken about, there's loads of other players, the Fletcher brothers. There's loads of players coming through that could be really, really good. But I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to be, those particular 2 are going to be great, because McTominay wasn't tipped to come through. There were players that were tipped to come through from that team that weren't Scott McTominay. Rashford wasn't actually tipped to come through either. So you don't know who the player's going to be, because the step up from youth football to men's football is massive. And some people who were okay at a certain level are amazing when it comes to men's football, and others aren't. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I'm very excited about it. Tom Grant says, morning Mark, what's your opinion of Gary Neville saying United becomes a graveyard for players and managers under Amorim? This will change, I think. MMA Takedown says, we all saw Sebastian before we got him. I don't know who you're talking about there. And I mean, look, I think Gary Neville's right in the sense that it is a graveyard. It was a graveyard for Van Gaal, for Jose, for Ten Hag, obviously for Ollie. So it is a graveyard for managers. And what player has come to Manchester United and actually excelled since... Who was the last player that came to Manchester United and actually left better? That's a great question. I mean, Ronaldo comes to mind, but it can't be Ronaldo because we got him from Sporting bloody 20 years ago. I think you can. I think Matty's right in the sense that Bruno got better, Van Persie got better. They didn't go anywhere, but they got better. But then they ended up getting worse. I mean, Bruno's not been good for the last year. So who was the last player that came to United and actually came in at a lower level, got better, and then left? Like, I think even the players that we brought in like Bruno that got better, then the longer they were here, the more they started to drop off. I mean, Bruno isn't 36. He's 29, 30 when he's been dropping off. That's not normal. So I think there is that sort of toxicity in the club of the last 10 years that even if you come in and blossom for a little bit, the poison will take you down, I suppose. And that needs to change. That does need to change. And it can change, but you've got to provide you got to provide the soil for people to grow. And at United, we're trying to grow on toxicity, and that's going to kill anything. And that's why it's not rocket science. There's no sinister curse that's stopping Man United managers and players from, not dying at this football club, which is what the majority do. I mean, fundamentally, the big message is that everybody fails at Man United. The managers, the players, they all fail. That's weird, unless you actually look at the reason for it. Look at what's happened to Old Trafford. Old Trafford, 20 years ago, was one of the best stadiums in Europe. It would regularly be being picked for Champions League finals, and if there was a tournament in England, it would be Old Trafford as the second place to Wembley. 20 years later, there's a tournament in England coming up in a few years' time. Old Trafford's not been picked. It doesn't get used for Champions League games finals anymore. It doesn't get used for Champions League at all. We're not in it. And it's a rotting mess. It symbolises what Man United is. Who caused that? The owners. And I think the reason managers and players fail at this football club is because at the very top of it, it's toxic. It's not set up right. And that's what we hope Ineos are going to change. And that's what we hope Amorim's going to change, because Liverpool were like this for a very long period of time, and then Jurgen Klopp came in and it changed. Arsenal were like it for a very long time after Wenger. Wenger's last few years were not good, and then Arteta came in and it changed. So it can change, but the reason we've become a graveyard shift is because just over the top, there is just this really toxic environment at the club of lack of accountability. Everybody knows it's about PR and money, and that just all needs to change. The only player that United signed, and I'd seen a lot before, was Mkhitaryan. Since in Armenia, I was so sure that he would have worked out, and I wish it did, says Raffo. I think Mkhitaryan, Kagawa, Mata, and Eriksen to a certain point all failed because we don't use the number 10 properly. I think they all could have worked a lot better if we'd actually used them correctly, but we just stick them on the wing and expect them to be something that they weren't. Thank you very much for that. If the Glazers were even half interested in United, we'd be in the top 4 every year, says Kulo. Palm says Arteta's not done anything yet. Well, I'm not here to talk about Arsenal, mate, but Arsenal weren't getting in the top 4. They've been in a title race the last 2 years, so you're also up against the juggernaut in Man City. So if you're saying Arsenal haven't done anything because they've not won the league, well, no one's winning the league at the moment because Man City exists, but they've definitely... I'd take what Arsenal have done in the last 4 years over what we've done in the last 10. To sustainably be the second best team in England, I'd take that at the moment. That would be progress as far as I'm concerned. Dowett says United must start looking at Sesko, Mark. I don't know what you're talking about, Dawid. I read comments all the time. And Uga says, do you think Amorim will make an attempt to bring Shaw back to his peak or look for a sale due to injuries? No one's going to buy Luke Shaw, and I don't think it's possible to bring him back to the level we need him. I fear that with Luke Shaw, it's just about fitness. When he's fit, I've always said he's one of the best left backs in, I suppose, the world, but certainly Europe. But he's got to stay fit. And that's going to be the problem. And no one's going to buy him because no one's going to buy a player that's on nearly 200 grand a week who won't stay fit. Think of it like this. The only reason we would sell Luke Shaw, the majority of us, is because he's never fit. Actually, if he was fit, we'd use him. So why is a team going to come in and go, we'd love to take that player that you would play if he was fit? The clue is there straight away. They're selling him because he's never fit. Maybe you don't want to buy him because he's never going to be fit. Herrera left a player better than when he came, says Will Deal. He ran his contract down, didn't he? Yeah. Good point. I'm worried about City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal all have a better project than us, says Natural Hazard. Yeah, but we're at the start of our project, aren't we? Patrick Flavel says, I'm still concerned our financial preventers from removing the deadwood is our only hope. Amorim prevents injuries and gets the best out of the first team, says Patrick. Look, if they don't allow this manager, if they say to this manager, financially, we can't sell this player, even though we know you don't want to use them, then we may as well just forget about it. For some of you, that could be Bruno, it could be Casemiro, it could be Shaw, it could be Rashford, but it doesn't matter who it is. If there is players that we have to keep because we can't afford to sell them, then we won't be successful. Think of it like this. if you're in a rowing race and you're trying to win a gold medal at the Olympics and you've got 4 rowers in your boat and 3 of them are good enough to win the gold medal, but 1 of them isn't, and you know that 2 years before the Olympics, but you go, we're not going to change it because it's, you know, it's too difficult. You're not going to win the gold because that 4th one is the weakest link and you're all rowing together for the same thing. It's the same with Manchester United. It doesn't matter what Amorim does with the right players if he's being forced to work with the wrong players. And this did for Ten Hag, it did for Jose, it did for Ollie, and it did for Van Gaal. We need to learn that lesson. We need to look at it as an analogy, and we need to look at it as a boat, and we need to look at it as 4 rowers, and we need to go, even if 3 of the rowers are elite, that 1 will slow us down. And we've never done it. We hide behind, oh, look at what we did with Varane in the summer. He was out of contract. Look at what we did with Martial in the summer. He was out of contract. Look at what we did with De Gea last year. He was out of contract. We don't... Name me one player we've ruthlessly removed from the football club. And there ain't that many times where we've done it. And basically, if you're an okay player on big wages who should be sold, we don't get rid of it. We're not ruthless, and that's what we need to do. And it can't always just be the players that are out of contract. Because I look at some of the players that are out of contract in the summer, like Eriksen, Maguire and Lindelof. I'd rather keep at least one of those over players that have got 2 or 3 years left on their contract that we will keep. And that's the wrong way around. So, for example, I would probably rather keep Harry Maguire and move on Casemiro. Because Casemiro is on 350k a week. And I mean, look, right here, right now, Casemiro's doing okay. But what I'm saying is, just as you might go, I'd rather keep Maguire than Mount because Maguire's fit more. You might say I'd rather keep Maguire than Shaw because Maguire's fit more. That's my point. We can't just say we're being ruthless, getting rid of players because their contracts are up, because they might not be the right player to go over others. And that's something that I think we've been quite good at hiding behind in recent times. Make sure you smash a like on the video, by the way, and subscribe. Thank you very much, everybody. Some cracking comments coming in at the moment. Sanjay says Casemiro's on 350k a week. That's a joke. Yeah. Steve says there could be a curse. Ander Herrera got better at Man United. I think Ander Herrera was a fan favourite. I was fuming when we got rid of him. I remember actually arguing with some people when Herrera went. They were going, he's not that good and we'll get someone better. And I was like, oh my God, he is good, but we're not going to get anyone better than Herrera. There won't be any money to do it. And I don't think we did do anything with it. He basically ran his contract down. I don't even understand why he did, but was he like 28 when we let him go as well? It was stupid. It was really, really stupid. It was one that really annoyed me, to be honest. I think we sell Rashford. He's been here far too long, says Vinny. Casemiro is actually playing well at the moment, though. He's a more important player than Maguire is currently, says James. I'll take you back to what I said last night, James. The issue with Casemiro for me is he's been bad for a long time. He's doing quite well at the moment, but he's on 350k a week, James. Is he playing like a 350k a week player? 350k a week is Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne at Man City. 350k a week is Mo Salah at Liverpool. 350k a week is Saka or Odegaard at Arsenal. 350k a week is like, you should be getting us in the top 4. I agree he's doing well at the moment, but is he doing 350k a week's worth? For me, that wage is a factor in what he's doing. I think at the moment he's doing well for 150k a week. I don't think he's doing 350k a week. So I don't think he's anywhere near the wage. I don't think he's anywhere near what he did at Real Madrid or in the first season. If he can start doing that, I'm happy for him to stay. But I think some people are like, well, he's doing all right at the moment, leave him. He ain't doing 350k a week all right. He isn't. And you know he's not. So if he ain't doing that, then I'm moving him on. I'm not keeping a 350k a week player who's giving me 150k a week okay performances. Or, well, good. 150k a week, still a lot of money. I think he's playing like a 150k a week player, which is good. But for 350k a week, I want man of the match every week. I want Ballon d'Ors, you know. So, but he's not the only one. There are other players on 300k a week. Exactly, there are. Look. We've got to be ruthless. That's what I'm saying. We can't just go, they're doing quite well at the moment. The money is incredible. That 350k a week could get you 3 Casemiros. 3. So that's what I'm talking about. Patrick Lynch says, not only ruthless, Mark, but we need to sell players for more than we expect. Sell players for more than they are worth indicates how well we are run. Exactly, Patrick. I think selling players should get better. We got good money for McTominay, and he's gone and done well. We got good money for Wan-Bissaka. I know he's not doing well at the moment, but I think he will settle and start to do well as well. And if we can become a club that when we sell players do well, then clubs will buy more of our players. I actually embrace the fact that players go off and do well when we sell them, because it means that, you know, people will look at us and buy more of our players. I mean, Man City can sell a player that's never played for Man City for £20 million. We can't sell a player that's a first-team regular for that sometimes. So that needs to change as well. 350k a week is what got the serial winner in the door to join this mess. Says spot on. Thank you very much. Spot on. Thanks everyone for watching. Absolutely loved the show this morning. Absolutely brilliant for a Monday show. Let's see what today brings. Obviously, we're going to get pictures and stuff for Amorim's first training session. Don't forget to check out the video I put up this morning. I think you'll all enjoy it, and don't forget to leave your comments. It's only 10 minutes long. It's 7 reasons why Ten Hag lost his job, and I think there's a load in there that will sharpen the minds about the things that Amorim must not do as well. Take care, everyone. Speak to you later. 8 o'clock show tonight. Sad show tonight. 8 o'clock. It's the last show. I'll tell you more at 8 o'clock. Very, very sad. Speak to you all in a bit. Take care.